spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, he is a Spider-Man. Hi everyone, Nick Pinelli, and I am a huge Spider-Man fan. So I decided that I wanted to do a review of the movie Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, I should also say here, I'm going to try not to do any spoilers, and then when I do say a spoiler, I'll do a big spoiler alert. So, let's get into it, shall we? So, breaking this review into three parts. Part one, which is the overall feel of Spider-Man Homecoming, is really light, really fun, fresh. It's like, this is a breath of fresh air to see Spider-Man so young, interacting with all of these different characters. One specific instance that I know is in the trailers, so no spoiler there, is he's in the hotel room with his friend Ned, and he specifically says, "I'm so tired of being treated like a kid," and he's jumping on the bed as he does that. And it's little things in that movie that set up the environment and set up the character so well that I really enjoy throughout this iteration. The costume of Spider-Man I really enjoy. He's got the web gliders, which is really cool, and he's also got the spider drones. I'm not a huge fan of like the black lines around him, although in that sense it does make it look a little bit more technical, which it comes from Iron Man in this world, so I see what the idea was behind it. So it all kind of adds to that technical advancement of Spider-Man. Next up, the characters of Spider-Man. So the first one to talk about is Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland. It's not just the actor's interpretation of the character, but also the script and the way that the script plays for Spider-Man. This one I thought was really great, but it also missed one or two key elements of the character of Peter Parker / Spider-Man, I think, that really make him so interesting. Spider-Man has this incredible catch-22, which makes him my favorite character ever. Favorite Marvel character. Favorite superhero. Anyway, where he really wants to be Spider-Man, because everybody wants to be a superhero, especially when you're 15 years old. That's the whole point of this movie, is that he really wants to be Spider-Man so bad, but he also really doesn't want to be Spider-Man because of all of the pain and agony that he'd put all of his friends and family through by doing it. He is a kid that doesn't know all of the right moves. And you get some of that in this movie. When he's on the ferry, obviously he's trying hard to save everyone, but it doesn't necessarily work out the way he wants it to. It floats around the phrase, "with great power comes great responsibility." Doesn't actually say it, which I'm fine in it not actually saying it, but once you look into the movie more, you kind of realize that sense of urgency with Spider-Man is not as prevalent as I personally would have liked. And I think what Tom Holland was given in the script, he did a fantastic job with, because he created the one who really loves being Spider-Man and who really is fun and energetic, that a lot of the other superheroes in this universe don't necessarily have. Does he do a good job as Spider-Man? The answer is yes. Of course he does. Moving on to other characters other than Spider-Man, the supporting cast was really good, and then also I think there were a few big missteps. For example, a person who I thought was great was the Vulture, because Michael Keaton is so intense that whenever he talks, you see, like, there's something crazy in there. Also, his storyline was really well written in that you kind of see what he was going through, and he was a noble guy. Spoiler alert. In the end credit scene, when he says that if I knew who Spider-Man was, I would have killed him. Which he knows who Spider-Man is, but he doesn't, which makes him a more sympathetic character in general. Another person who I thought was really good was Spider-Man's friend Ned, played by Jacob Batalon, I think that's how you say it. Anyway, I thought he was really great because he was another fun person for Spider-Man to kind of play off of. It was really good in the script because it let us see Spider-Man's origin without actually seeing Spider-Man's origin. So for example of that, once Ned discovers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, the next day he starts talking to Spider-Man about how did you do this, and we find out that Peter Parker was bitten by a spider, but also by him wanting to be the guy in the chair and helping Spider-Man out, it fit into that idea of wanting to be a superhero. That's kind of how that would be. Ned shows what the youthful interpretation of a superhero would be, which is really, really nice. Characters I did not like as much. If you're going to cast Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, it's like they cast her and then they said, wow, we cast somebody who's very attractive to play this old lady. Let's just make that her character trait. I thought Marissa Tomei did a fantastic job with what she was given, but at the same time, you have at least 3 characters in the movie talk about how hot Aunt May is, and that's just weird. Aunt May is not meant to be that kind of character. Another character that I was not a big fan of at all was Flash Thompson. Honestly, when I looked at it, Flash looked like more of a nerd than Peter Parker did, because basically everything that Flash did or said, nobody really laughed at. Nobody really kind of acknowledged him as cool. Nobody likes him. Nobody likes Flash. So if Flash doesn't like you, that's really not that big of a deal. Part of the thing about Flash is he has to be the opposite of Spider-Man, the opposite of Peter Parker. But in this interpretation, Flash just really says penis Parker, which I'll get more into that later. I wasn't a big fan of that character. I think it could be written a little bit better. I think the actor did fine, but the actor is Tony Revolori. I think he did fine, but anyway, not my favorite interpretation of the character. Some nitpicky things about Spider-Man. A little thing that maybe I'm just crazy for this, but I really didn't like it, was the amount of times that Spider-Man swore. Spider-Man said, what the hell, at least 3 times. I'm pretty sure it was 4. He said, damn it, once. At the very end of the movie, one of the last lines is Marissa Tomei saying, what the, right as it gets cut off. Flash's penis Parker thing is just not smart. It's not a very good way to make fun of someone. There's more creative ways to do that, especially if you're gifted and talented. Come on, kid. I just felt like that was lazy. It doesn't belong in a Spider-Man movie. I'm sorry, it doesn't. For me, it actually took me out whenever things like that happen. And that's the main reason why I'm saying it. Like, as a viewer, I was watching Spider-Man enjoying the world, and then something like that, he'd say, what the hell? And I'd be like, that's weird, right? Anyone? No? Oh, okay, I'll just go back to watching it. And that's the only reason that I really had issue, was I was legitimately taken out of the experience whenever that stuff happened. Another really kind of nitpicky issue that I had was Tony Stark goes so far as to have the FBI track down the deal on the ferry. Why then wouldn't he put more security on the plane that's transferring everything of the Avengers on moving day? Why wouldn't he have somebody look after it? Like, I don't know, not War Machine, because he has broken legs now. Awkward. I get they sent out a decoy and everything should have been fine, but at the same time, it was very, very bizarre that if Spider-Man wasn't there, all of this stuff would have been stolen by the Vulture. Kind of a little issue that I had, that there was no real defense of Tony Stark's plane other than Spider-Man. Thankfully, Spider-Man was there. Also, on that note, I want to say that I really loved the final scene, the final fight between those two, the Vulture and Spider-Man, because it felt really big and grandiose while also feeling really small. Because there weren't people everywhere, there wasn't these insane things that you'll never see in real life, but also something from one of the roller coasters fall to the ground. There was a lot of fire, so it felt big and blockbustery, but at the same time, it felt like it could actually happen in the world of New York. I thought that was actually really, really cool and really, really well done. This movie did a really, really good job of introducing characters into the Spider-Man universe without fully introducing them. Example of this, at first I was really interested by the choice of having Donald Glover there as such a small character. But then, speaking with a big Spider-Man nerd about it, it turns out that his character is actually the uncle of Miles Morales. Miles Morales is a different Spider-Man, somebody who ends up becoming Spider-Man in a different Spider-Man universe. So it sounds like they might be introducing him, which is also very, very cool because Donald Glover was the inspiration for the character of Miles Morales, so to have him play the uncle was a really nice nod to that. So that was a really cool way to introduce that character. They also introduced a few other characters, like having the Shocker there, the Tinkerer, the Scorpion as well. So those are different villains that could come up throughout. And that was actually something that I think that the Amazing Spider-Man movie tried to do, but it just didn't turn out very successful at all. That this movie I think did really, really well, so that the next Spider-Man movie that comes out with Tom Holland, you'll already have a sense of these small-time villains that Spider-Man can be dealing with. Last, I just want to do a quick comparison of the different Spider-Man. Tom Holland's interpretation of the characters, which, like I said, really, really fun, and you see how much joy he has in being Spider-Man. Now, I'm pretty sure that anybody who likes Spider-Man would freaking love to play this character, but you see in Tom Holland's interpretation how much he actually enjoys this and wants to be a part of this and wants to make this work. And I would say, as far as any of the different movies, this one might be the most amount of fun that's had because it's very joyful. There's lots of clever jokes in here, colorful characters, that kind of thing. It didn't feel necessarily as serious as some of the other ones have in the past, which I think was a good choice for this one. And it really did fit well into the Marvel Universe while still being a standalone Spider-Man movie. All right, well, there you have it. Just some of my thoughts on the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. Overall, I thought the thing was fantastic. I would probably give it 8.5 out of 10. I don't know, first number that came to mind. But it really, really was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again for sure. But that's also because I love Spider-Man. Some of these things I was very, very nitpicky about. But overall, very enjoyable. And I'm really glad that Spider-Man, this interpretation of Spider-Man, is now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and can be used. And I'm really interested to see where this character is going to go. So we will find out very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.